Welcome, everybody, to Freedom Mentor Live. I am your host, Phil Pustiovsky, and I'm also joined by Brian Bush. He'll be with here just a second. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Phil, how are you this evening?
Great. Thanks for being with me tonight. I know there's a lot of things you all could be doing. In fact, it is for some of you all sports fans, it's March Madness, NCAA tournament, and games are tipping off around 7:15. So if you're here with us, thank you. We're going to make it worth your while. And yeah, we want to make sure our chat's working. Some of you all have already dove in there and done that. Pearl, hello from Georgia. Hello, Pearl. Chuck, hello from West Virginia. Tom from Southern California. Hey, Tom. And so, yeah, go in there and type into the chat where you're coming to us from. I'm coming to you from Florida. Brian coming to you from Texas. Santo Domingo. Excellent. Dayton, Nevada. Yes, we are actually live. Yeah, we do these every Thursday. These are live. And we got Polk County, Florida. Great, Jared. Montello, Wisconsin. I saw where y'all got a lot of snow, Wisconsin. That's no fun this time of year. You're kind of hoping, right? The season had passed us. So I know y'all don't think this is much of a stretch, but growing up, my nickname was Punxsutawney Phil, like the groundhog. So yes, on February 2nd, people still text me and say, "Did you see your shadow, Phil?" So for Michael in Montello, Wisconsin, I did see my shadow. I knew there was going to be 6 more weeks of winter. Fort Myers, Florida, Kizzy. All right. Um, uh, Belinda from Maryland. Great. Another person, Syed, also from Southern California. Beautiful. Mohammed from Dallas. All right. Andrew from Massachusetts. And Kara Lee from San Diego. All right, man, we got a great group on here tonight. Carline from Delaware. We actually, next week, Carline, we have a special guest that's going to be from Delaware. He's been extremely successful in our business. Tonight, we have a special guest coming to you that has done over 100 deals. He graduated from our program some time ago, been extremely successful, and he's going to share some unique insights with you tonight. So he'll be coming here in about half past the hour. We're going to try to wrap this all up by 8 o'clock tonight. So we're going to try to be punctual and also be really efficient. We've got a great show for you tonight. Boynton Beach, Florida. All right, that's South Florida. Only 17 inches, right, Michael? Yeah, I heard y'all got ice first because we have a student in Wisconsin. Said he got like ice for like 6 hours and then you got the snow. So just miserable, right? Ouch. John from South Carolina. All right, good deal, y'all. Well, we got a great crowd on here. Seems like you all know how to use the chat. All right, so what is the topic of tonight? It's good deals versus bad deals. It's being able to distinguish between the two. And what's so interesting is that you're probably going to get a unique perspective tonight that you never thought of. You're probably going to get a unique way of looking at what's a good deal and what's a bad deal that you've probably never heard of from anyone else. So, one of the things that our group is known for is providing a unique perspective. I mean, even going back 15 or more years ago, when we first started putting out YouTube videos, I remember people would put in the comments, they would say, "Well, Phil, you come from a different perspective. You come from like a different angle." And the reason why is because all we do is real estate. That's all we focus on. And sometimes people have asked me over the years, "Hey, have you ever heard of this guy? Have you ever read this book about real estate?" And I'll just always be like, "No, I have no idea what they're doing. I'm too busy. Brian and I are too busy. Our team is too busy in the trenches of doing deals." And so this perspective tonight on how to distinguish between good deals and bad deals comes from the trenches. It comes from literally being a part of thousands of deals. It's not an exaggeration, it's real numbers. We have an internal software system called ePartner, and it has an ongoing counter of the number of leads in the system. I mean, Brian, what are we? We're in the 800,000s right now, right?
That's it.
Now, obviously, we haven't looked at every one of the 800,000. I mean, some of those are leads that were unmotivated sellers we never talked to, but we've evaluated, we've studied, we've analyzed thousands of these deals, and then as we've done and these deals have actually learned how to distinguish between good deals and bad deals at a level that most people could only dream at, only because we've had so much repetition. Brian, I just got a notification that I had a inconsistent internet.
Just
So,
for a
all
few seconds. That's it.
right, I'm going to try to switch to my other internet. There might be a pause here.
Yep.
Okay, am I back?
You are?
All right, good deal. So I have I at my office, I have the super fast fiber internet, it's a gig upload, gig download. It's never as consistent. And then I have the cable Comcast version, and it's not as fast, but it's super silky smooth. All right, Pearl says I never left. Well, I don't know how that worked. Excellent. Okay. All right, y'all. Well, let's figure out where you all are at on this understanding of what Brian and myself and our team, what we consider the most important and most helpful to understanding a good deal versus a bad deal. Here we go. I'm going to launch a poll, and hopefully you're going to be able to see this, whether on mobile or desktop. It's going to pop up on your screen, and it's going to say most helpful at the top, and then we got this question. What is most helpful in distinguishing a good deal from a bad deal? And we're going to assume you know the minimum price the seller's willing to take. So you know how much they're willing to take. They're willing to take 280, willing to take 300,000. What is most helpful in distinguishing a good deal from a bad deal? Is it A, accurate property information, the location, the square footage, the acreage, bedrooms, bathrooms, how many floors, floor plan? Is it property information? Is it the appraised value? So if you know what it appraises for and you know what the seller's asking, is that the most helpful? Third option is condition and repair estimate. Is knowing the condition of the property. Is it literally built a year ago? Is it absolutely trashed? And how much is that going to cost to renovate? I know a lot of people, Brian, have asked us, how do we estimate what a property is going to sell for? So that's obviously a concern people have. Or is it most helpful to know what it's going to sell or rent for, both the way it is right now, as is, as well as fully renovated? Is that the most helpful? All right, so what is most helpful in distinguishing a good deal from a bad deal? All right, so this is going to set the tone for the rest of tonight's training and this experience, because it's at the heart of what we have learned from all these thousands of deals on how to help somebody understand a good deal from a bad deal. All right, well, some of you all might still be deliberating, but I'm going to go ahead and end this poll, and we're going to see the results. I've got great news, Brian. We've got a very smart audience. We've got some people that really, really get it. All right, here we go. It turns out 67% of you were spot on. Well done. 67% of you guessed what it will sell or rent for, both as is and fully renovated. So, Brian, what's the difference between appraised value and what something's going to sell for?
Well, it's going to be affected by a lot of things, right? An appraisal is looking at a very specific set of information, usually at least three main comps over the past maybe 6 months, that tells what properties have been going for. But that is not necessarily always an accurate reflection of what the market will pay at this point in time, because it's affected by a lot of other factors, like how much competition you currently have. So when we look at value, we have to dig a lot deeper.
Yeah, appraisals, everyone, are reports. And those reports are provided by an appraiser who's following a certain set of guidelines. The appraiser, it doesn't live or die by whether or not, or financially live or die by whether or not they're right. They don't care. In fact, they get paid up front, don't they, everybody? Appraisers get paid up front. So whether their report is good or bad is irrelevant. They already paid. See, Brian and I, we have had to not only make our living, but create a fortune for ourselves and for the people that we have worked with. We have to do that based on our predictions of what something's going to sell for. We've had to get real good at this. Now, why isn't accurate property information as helpful? No, hey, look, we want to know all these things, but why isn't it as helpful? And that is because we don't actually care what type of property we're dealing with. We don't care if it's in a nice area or a not nice area. We don't care if it's on acreage or if it's not. We don't care if it has good bones or if it doesn't, because essentially that's irrelevant unless if you're going to own the property long term, you'd probably rather it be in better condition as far as the structural side of things. Instead, what we care most about is what's the minimum we can negotiate with the seller, and then what could this thing sell for? Or if our goal is to rent it, what can this thing truly rent for? And we don't just estimate that or predict that based on when it's fully renovated, but also as is. And as you're going to find out here a little later with the special guest, there's a lot of money that can be made selling properties without ever touching it, without ever renovating it. So accurate property information, is it helpful? Yes, but it's not all that helpful. We're not specific to an area, to a location. That's why for all of you, whether you're in Wisconsin or you're in Southern California or you're in Florida or you're in Maryland or you're in Delaware, no matter where you're located, our model works incredibly well because we're not specific to that. And then lastly is condition and repair estimate. Just like we don't care the location, I don't care the condition. I don't care how bad the condition is. It could be an awful condition. In fact, I've used this example before. It actually doesn't matter how bad the property is. There are these properties called brownfields that are contaminated. And even those properties can sell. In some cases, the seller actually brings money to the table to get rid of their property. So it's not about condition. It's not about the property itself. It's not about what it appraises for. It's about what the market will bear. It's about what the property will sell for or will rent for. So we're now going to dive in. Oh no, hold on. I have to my entire presentation, Brian, that I've pulled up. It's giving me some PDF error. Let me see. Hold on. I just had it pulled up a second ago. You all have these great slides. Oh, here we go. It came up. Good. Yeah, that always happens, right, when you're live. All right, here we go, y'all. Good deals versus bad deals. Here it is. Oh, look at this. AI assistants popping up, Brian. My goodness. AI. All right, here we go. All right, let me know when you can see this, Brian. Just a second. Right now. Can you see that?
It is up.
Okay. All right, here we go. So the question of questions is, what will the property seller rent for, both as is and fully renovated? And as we mentioned, that this is the key to determining a good or a bad deal. Why do I say that? Well, it's when you know that, when you know what a property will sell for, you're no longer in the business of guesswork. You're no longer hoping to get lucky, and you're no longer taking a leap of faith. Now, myself and Brian, we're Christians, and we pray, and we try to strive for as close of a relationship with the Lord as we can. But you know what? We don't ask the Lord to bring us a buyer to pay more than the market will bear. We don't ask for those kinds of miracles because we understand the Lord also gave us a brain, and He has certain laws, He has certain rules, and so one of those is clearly to understand basic economics. And so what we try to do is we try to get to a point where we have almost complete certainty on what the property will sell for now, what it'll sell for if it's renovated, and if we're doing a rental, what it's going to rent for. And then from there, everything else comes into light. When we have that central point of clarity, then all of a sudden, we can better negotiate with the seller. We can determine, okay, is there something we can do with this property? Could we just sell it as is without even getting on title, so we don't have any financial commitment? Or is it such a good deal that we need to become the owner as fast as we can before that seller changes their mind, and then go ahead and then resell it? Or do we own it and then rent it out? So everything related to good and bad deals begins with understanding and getting clear on whether or not we can be confident in what that property is going to sell for. So I was mentioning earlier about the NCAA tournament. And a lot of people gamble on the NCAA tournament. Brian, I remember a couple of years ago, Warren Buffett, he offered up some massive amount of money if someone had a perfect bracket, right, of the 64 teams to the 32 and all the way down to the Sweet 16. And because he knew mathematically it was like 1 in like 80 billion chance, some crazy number, right? And and so this is the opposite of that. Investing is not gambling. Flipping houses should never be about, well, I got lucky, or well, the timing was bad. You're going into this with it being a sure thing. And if you do that, if you go into this being a sure thing, now all of a sudden, good deals and bad deals become crystal clear. Good deals are the ones that have room for opportunity. Bad deals are the ones that don't. And if the seller is unwilling to negotiate, unwilling to budge, well, then there's nothing to be concerned about. They weren't willing to make the right decision, and that is to work with you, right? Okay, so let's figure out if you all know how to best predict. So if prediction is the key, then how do we do that? Let's take a look. So here's my next poll for y'all. How do you best predict what a property will sell or rent for? Do you do it by comparing online estimates? I'm asking AI. How many times have we seen that, Brian, where someone goes to Zillow, they go to Redfin, they go to Realtor.com, and then they try to average them together. So some people try to get they're called AVMs, automated valuation models, whether it's Zillow's Zestimate or at Redfin or it's Realtor.com or it's some go that route. And so that's one way you can predict. The next way is an appraisal. So will the appraisal give us the best prediction of what a property is going to sell for? Earlier we said that we don't want to rely on an appraisal. We want to know the best way to predict. So hint, hint, appraisal is probably not going to be the answer here. But what about this one? A broker's price opinion, or asking local agents. What if you ask local real estate agents their opinion on what the property should sell for? And then the last option is to study closed, pending, and active comps. All right, so give your best guess on how you should best predict what a property should sell for. What methodology? Again, let's just go with AI here. It's the easy way. Do we go pay an appraiser $600 for them to show up and do their report? Do we ask local agents? Or do we study the closed, pending, and active comps? Once again, Brian, loving our audience here, sir. I'm going to wrap this poll up, and yeah, we've got a smart group here.
Nice.
Basically, 80% of you all guessed right. That's exactly right. Studying the closed, pending, and active comps. Brian, why isn't it as authoritative to ask local agents what a property is going to sell for? Let's say you go up to them and you say you're looking to hire a listing agent. Why is that skewed?
Well, I've always relied on the fact that the official title of the license is a salesperson's license. And so, of course, they want to sell you on working with them. And the better number they give you, the more likely you are to work with them. And if it doesn't work, well, we might, shifts in the market, we'll have to reduce the price. So generally, you're asking the barber if you need a haircut, and you kind of know what you're going to get.
Isn't that so true? So, no offense to all the listing agents out there. I've had my real estate license for 20 years, and I certainly understand the model. But at the end of the day, a real estate agent who convinces you to sign a listing agreement, their job has now been done. and they are often willing to stretch that number of what a property will sell for because they know that unfortunately a lot of home sellers would work with the agent who told them the highest number of what the property would sell for. So if they went to three agents and one said, it might sell for 320, someone else says, you might get 335, and someone else says, oh yeah, you can definitely get 350. You just have to market it right. Well, that's the one that gets the listing, but that doesn't mean it's correct. And a broker's price opinion is when a broker takes some listings and basically does a mini appraisal. But once again, their information can be skewed because they ultimately might have an alternative motive, and that is to get your listing. So we can't fully rely on local agents. Although in theory, if you had some really talented, intelligent agents who study this all the time, they get you closer. We already talked about why the appraisal is not accurate because it only relies on closed comps, and they're about filling out their report more than anything else. Well, the last one, the other one was comparing online estimates, and that's garbage in, garbage out. AI, Zillow, Realtor, Redfin, they just don't have enough data points. And you know what's real interesting? Brian, we talked about this years ago, and those are those iBuyers like Zillow was buying properties, Redfin was buying properties, Open Door and OfferPad, they're still alive, but they've changed their model. Zillow was buying properties sight unseen based on their AI algorithm. Open Door was doing the same thing. And Zillow lost $1 billion on buying houses for too much. And that was because they relied on their AI tools. Unfortunately, no matter how many data points AI has, they still can't have the accuracy of real life. So at this point, until there are, I'm assuming there are some sort of drones that are flying around and looking at every house in America, they just don't have the boots on the ground ability to get accurate enough. So that's why it's all about studying closed, pending, and active comps. And that's how you get to a sure thing. So here's how we're going to have a little fun here. We're going to show y'all some examples of that. So what we do with comps is we look at closed, and that's what other properties are sold for. We look at active comps. That tells us our competition. That tells us who else we're competing against when we put a property up for sale or up for rent. And then pending comps are nice because that shows us, okay, so that one went on the market and then that one went pending. It doesn't give us the full picture, but it gives us some hints. And you oftentimes find where the pending comps are the ones that were listed lower than the ones that are still active. So we're going to take all of those comps and then we're going to do one more thing. We're going to infuse that with experience. We're going to infuse those comps with what Brian and myself and our coaching team have seen thousands of times because we've had to put our money where our mouth is. Our predictions have got to be right because that's the difference between us making money and not. And so experience has come through 20 years. Experience has come through hard knocks. Experience has come from we predict it and then we see what happens. And if we can't predict, we do structured deals, creative deals, where if it doesn't go through, we're still okay. But it's by infusing all that we come to our conclusions that ultimately we either win or lose. So here we go, y'all. We're going to see how well you all predict. And it's going to be a little tricky. I tried to figure this out prior to getting this started, and I hope this works out okay. All right, here's what we're going to do. I would like for you all to predict whether this is over or under. And what I'm going to do is, Brian, you can see that, right? I'm sharing the screen.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me just pull this out of the way here. All right. This property is located in Rhode Island. It's in the Northeast. And so part of the hint there is that the Northeast has experienced ever since COVID a lack of inventory. And what we did on this one is we knew that this property was going to be in high demand. Brian, can you see the property here, or you just see the slide?
I just see the slide over
All right,
under. Yep.
I got it. I got a better way to do this now. Okay, here we go. Y'all, here's the property. This is old Lewis Get Pike. All right, we'll just spin this around real quick. That's kind of the neighborhood. There's Lincoln, Rhode Island for y'all. There you go. Um, okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to look at it from satellite and watch this. Very interesting. Not necessarily, look at there, Brian, Juice Girls right next door. So maybe if you're a juice person, you really like this property. Look, it's right on top of the road, y'all. And then there's a house right behind it. The backyard is a house to which another house is behind them. So you don't have a backyard. And if I go back to this view right here, it doesn't even have much of it doesn't even have a really good curb appeal. And then here's the driveway, and it comes back over here. Um, in fact, I think I've got a couple of pictures I can show you. Yeah, let me show you this. Here's pictures of the property. So it's sold for 390. So the question you have to answer for us is was 390. Did that sell for more or less than what we all predicted? So here's a couple pictures of the house, and I'm about to give you the chance to guess here. So this is old Lewis Get Pike. All right, let me see. So yeah, I mean it did a pretty good job on the inside. There's the floor plan. But here we go. Old Lewis Get Pike here. Lewis Cassette. Lewis Cassette. All right, here we go. Was this over or under? Did this sell for over what we predicted or under what we predicted? All right. See how we do here, everybody. Go just right over here, just a little bit. Oh, yeah, there's the neighbor to the backyard right there, right on top of the road. I mean, look at that. No yard if they had kids, nothing. They just right there. All right, over or under? Over or under? All right. Well, thank you all for participating here. This is good news. I'm gonna go ahead and end this poll. You all, well done. 76%, absolutely right. It sold for over. I was convinced it was going to sell no more than 375. I don't know where you landed on that, Brian, but I was at 375. Now, watch what we did. We did list it lower. We always do that. We listed it 350 on purpose because we wanted to create a multiple offer situation. So we wanted the multiple offer, but it sold for 390. I was thinking 375 tops. There were agents in the marketplace because even we do all that prediction, we still want as much feedback as possible. A couple local agents were thinking 350 to 360. One of the things I was really worried about was that it was on top of the road, didn't have a yard, had terrible curb appeal. I mean, these are the kind of things that AI never points out, but experience does. We were still going to make money at 350. Still going to make good money because this deal made over $100,000. This is a good deal. So we knew we were going to make money, but it was how much. That was the real question. How much were we going to make? And we, to our pleasant surprise, it went for 390. So why did it go for 390? Brian, what was the reason? Why did this thing end up going all the way up to 390 instead of, let's say, 360, 375?
It's what you gave away earlier. Well, obviously the multiple offer helped, but it's a lack of inventory, and so you've got more demand.
Yep. So this was all about no active comps. When you've got no active comps, you're going to sell for more when there's a demand, and that's what happened there. So really interesting on that one. That one made us great money. All right, good job. 70, man, this is a great group out here. Y'all been nailing it. All right, we'll go to the next one here. All right, over or under? All right, look at this beauty right here. This is a pretty property. This one is in Conroe, Texas, which is north of Houston. And let's pull this one up. By the way, y'all having fun out there? Is this fun stuff? All right, here we go. All right, Leela Springs. Look at this one right here. It's one of those McMansions there in that part of Texas. Look how nice the yard is. Look how nice the neighborhood is, right? Leela Springs. Let's pull up, see if we get some other pictures here. Zillow. Yeah, so this one sold. No, it doesn't. Oh, this is Texas. Texas is a non-disclosure state. It won't show it. Sometimes it does, not always. So I don't have a lot of great pictures. Let me see if I can find it on Realtor.com. Realtor sometimes got more pictures. There it is. In case y'all are wondering, Realtor.com has more pictures because of a recent lawsuit against Zillow. So look at this place. Look how nice this is. So the question is, did this sell over or under the estimated, the estimate and the prediction that we had? Remember, we're great at predicting. And so this one, I got to tell you, this one we were not really confident in our prediction. So the way we structured this deal was in such a way where there is absolutely no way someone was going to lose money on the deal. So the idea is we don't lose money on this one. This one may not have made much. I mean, we kept it real conservative. But yeah, you can see how nice this house is. I mean, there's a lot of pictures here. Wow. All right. All right. I'll bring this poll up here. Over or under? Over or under? Leela Springs. Leela Springs. Over or under? And by the way, you could see from these listing pictures, these were well done. These were good pictures. This was the way we structured this. Got it under contract. Did not get on title. Just protecting our interest without putting ourselves in a position potentially could lose money. Did this sell for over or under our prediction? And again, this is outside of Houston. This is one of those McMansions. And here we go. Let's end the poll. Let's see what our group came up with. Once again, our group was right. It did sell for under. Brian, why did this one sell for under?
Well, it took some research, but it came down to builders. There were builder competitors, and you do not want to find yourself competing against builders. They can beat you every time.
Yeah. So this was a McMansion in an area full of McMansions. This is like the McMansion capital of the world. And so it doesn't distinguish much when there's just a ton of new homes being built here, and there's a ton of new homes here and here and here, and there's so many new homes being built, some of which are not even listed on the MLS. They're just in the builder's inventory. And it was just such a barrage of new built, and that's why we didn't feel comfortable. We didn't feel comfortable on our prediction, so we played kind of played a position where we were going to make less money, but if we made any money, it was going to be safe. And so yeah, you got to be careful. Just because it's in beautiful condition, great pictures, all that doesn't mean it's going to sell for more. You got to know your competition. Again, in that case, it was active comps, but some are not even on the MLS. And we've learned this through experience. All right, y'all. So I hope that was helpful. That is at the core of what we do differently when we're determining good deals from bad deals. We focus on predicting what the property is going to sell for. And so on, John, you wrote, what was the price point on this one? I think it was sold for like it sold in the fours. I'm going to say 420 but again, actually, no, wait a minute. We have it. Hold on. Good question, John. We have that data. It's down here. I stopped sharing, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Hold on. Let me just quickly pull it up. Yeah, this sold for 415. The listing started at 450. Yeah, and it sold for 415. I thought at the lowest it wouldn't sell for anything less than 425, but I still wasn't 100% confident. So that's why we played that one safe. Yeah, we listed at 450, thinking we get a multiple offer situation, hopefully. And it didn't even sell for 425, sold for 415. Yeah, good question, John. All right, everybody. Well, now let's meet our special guest. His name is Wes. Wes, you can go click the button to enter. So Wes joined up with our apprentice program. He's now done over 100 deals. He graduated a couple of years ago, meaning he made over $500,000 with us. And And so been very successful in the business, but he's done things a little differently than the guest from last week. All right, welcome, Wes. There you are.
What's up, Bill? Brian, what's up?
Wes, thanks so
How's it
much for
going, Wes?
being here.
Bill, your
All right, so
video is freezing up just a little bit back and forth.
I can see him pretty well. I can see your eyes moving there, Wes.
Okay,
Give us
cool.
a smile. Here it is. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay. You're right. We're all
Okay,
good.
cool.
Okay, good deal. All right, so Wes, we obviously hear about this great success. You've done over 100 deals. You made a lot of money. Everybody has to start somewhere. Now, when you first got started with this, you did a deal or two, but then you really hit your stride. It was around like 2019-ish, right? 2020-ish.
Yep, 2019. Yep.
What was the inflection point? What changed to where you started doing a lot of deals, where you really started firing on all cylinders?
Yeah, so I was working a full-time job, and so while working this job, I was still trying to do real estate on the side, and so I just said, all right, well, I've been in this program for a little while now. It's time to be a real estate investor or not. So I just said I'm going to do it or not, and so I decided to do it, and I started um, emailing Brian a lot, asking a lot of questions, and then just devoted time. I just made time to call sellers, talk to sellers, and try to get some deals done and learn how to be a real estate investor.
So, and I can hear you pretty well. I know it's breaking up just a little bit for some of you all, but we'll go slow so we can hear from Wes. Uh, what what changed in your schedule and whatnot? Because I think there's a lot of people out there trying to figure out how to juggle all this. You had a full-time job, and from what I understand, you're part of a very successful company, so it's pretty demanding. You had a pretty senior role with them. They trusted you with a lot of important items. How did you balance that full-time role, being a family man, and also committing to doing real estate?
There's a lot of sacrifice. I was working my full-time job probably it was 50 to 70 hours a week.
Hmm.
It was a lot of hours, very demanding, but I found time where I found time. So I led a team, and so I was able to get away for 15, 20 minutes here and there throughout the day. It was like, oh, I got a lead that came in. Let me go call the seller real quick. And so it's just 15, 20 minutes a couple times a day during the day, just getting a hold of sellers, and I set the appointments to go do the walk through the house. After the day was over with or on the weekends. So really, I just made the time. You have to make the time. You gotta tell yourself you're going to do it, and then you'll find the time if you prioritize it, and that's just what I did. And still trying to be a family man. That was the trade-off. But yeah, we did it.
Now you look back from where you are, where you were then to where you are now. If you go back to your younger self, was that the right move? Were those sacrifices worth it?
Yeah, yeah. And my wife would say the same thing. She wasn't quite happy with the amount of time working it then, but now she's like, yeah, I can understand. I can see how it was worth it, and where we are today makes a lot of sense, and she's glad that we did it. So yeah.
So you had a great relationship with your employer, but you did transition. You're a full-time real estate investor at this point, right?
Yep, full time. Yep.
Yeah, so you were able to make the leap. Now, your story is really interesting, and so we're going to have some fun kind of diving into this. But um, so take us back. You start taking action. You're obviously just asking us a lot of questions, um, but you found a unique approach that involved selling your deals not on the MLS, which we typically do, but you ended up going to sell to institutional buyers. Tell us the story of how you ended up finding out and connecting with these big, we'll call them hedge funds, or I call them institutional buyers. How did you run into all that?
Yeah, there was. I had bought a rental I renovated that rental and then rented out that rental. And after a year of owning it, the tenant wanted to move out. And so she went and the new house that she wanted to rent was from an institutional home buyer. And so they actually got in touch with one of their local construction managers, and they said, "Hey, we buy houses too." And so she said, so they told her, "If you know anybody, we'd love to buy their house as well." And so she connected me with their construction manager, and they gave me an offer on that house. That house didn't work. It didn't work out. But I said, I come across, leads all the time that I would love to sell you. This one's not a fit. And so that's how I found the first one. After that, I had always heard from you, Phil, and Brian, look at who your houses are selling to, or who the deals are selling to that you lost out on. And so that's what I made that a religious practice, where every deal that I try to keep track of every deal. I have this tracker. I go look at the county website all the time saying, "Hey, I don't know what happened to this deal. What happened to it?" And then sometimes it was a surprise. Sometimes I knew that it was sold to somebody else. A lot of times, or a couple of the institutional investors that I found, another wholesaler had made $100,000, $50,000 off of their wholesale, and I'm like, what, why can't I sell to these people? So I found majority of them doing that, and then also I had a real estate agent reach out to me because we were doing Google Ads. They found me on Google. They reached out to me and said, "Hey, I represent a couple of these institutional home buyers. They want to buy houses. Here's their criteria." So it was a lot of different ways. Majority of the ways that I found them was just what I call the ground game. You're just talking to people in your market. Who are they selling to? Who did you lose your deals to? All that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope everybody was able to catch that. So he basically, one step at a time, by taking action and being in the game, by being in the throes of this business, he stumbled upon not one, not two, but several different institutional buyers that were buying single family homes in his general region. And what they were doing with them is buying them, fixing them up, and then renting them out. And so he was able to basically build a list of potential buyers for his deals. And so tell us a little bit about like how they worked. Like, did they give you specific criteria? Like, I'm looking for houses at this age or at this size. What were they looking for?
Yeah, they want to buy houses, so they don't care where they get the houses from. They would send you the exact criteria. Hey, here's our buy, they call it a buy box. They would say, here's our buy box. Across the metro, we don't buy in, this buy box broke out. Really, some of them were zip code by zip code. We don't buy in this zip code. We will buy in this zip code. 3 beds, 2 baths, 2 beds, 1 bath. Has to be a certain square footage. And then also has to rent for a certain amount. Some of them had rental restrictions. They wouldn't go below $1,000 a month. Some of them didn't care. But they wanted to buy deals. So I would just call them and be like, "Hey, what is your underwriting criteria? How are you buying houses?" And they would be happy to tell me. And then also, before I really started to kind of nail down what they wanted to buy and how they wanted to buy it, I would call their construction managers and be like, "Hey, what are you paying for HVAC? What are you paying to replace electrical panel? Why do you replace electrical panels? Like, what are you looking for when you replace electrical panels?" Because I had no idea. "What are you looking for when you replace HVAC? What are you looking for when you're replacing water heaters? Like, who are you using for painters? How much are you paying for painters?" I would just like make them brain dump everything that they know so that I knew exactly what they're looking for. One of them they would replace HVAC systems over 10 years old, no matter if it worked or not, no matter if it looked good or not. If it was more than 10 years old, they'd replace it. Water heaters over 7 years old. Again, doesn't matter if it worked, they would just replace it. And so once I understood that, it was really simple to go through the list and say, they're replacing HVAC, here's what they're paying for painting. They're going to replace the electrical panel because of these criteria that I talked to them about. And then some of them wanted to hit a certain yield on rents. So I would kind of back into that number. What would it rent for? What's the renovation number? what I think the ARV is, and then it give you spit out the purchase price.
It's
You
what
Yeah,
was
you
just
got real specific, in other words, as to what we mentioned earlier. What's this going to sell for? What's this going to rent for? You knew you could size up pretty quickly as you got all into all these details. Is this institutional buyer going to pay? And that allows you to make better offers, right? I mean, you know
Yeah.
pretty quickly whether this is going to win.
I even got one of them to send me their underwriting Excel spreadsheet. So I just put in with pricing on there, like with their HVAC, with their painting. Like you didn't hurt to ask. They're going to tell you yes because they want us to buy deals. So that's how I did. That was one of the ones I sold a lot to. Was I said, hey, just send me your spreadsheet, and they're like, here you go. So
so much wisdom. I hope you all were able to catch that. He was playing where it was a sure bet every time. He was starting with the end in mind. And here's the great thing. He wasn't even at the mercy of what the MLS or the market would pay. In fact, in some cases, he could sell it to them for more than what the market would pay if he fit into their parameters. And so he was able to adjust his marketing to find one of those deals that fit more of what they were looking for. And so he was able to negotiate with the seller based on comps and other negotiating techniques. But then on the buying, when he was reselling it to those buyers, he already knew it was a sure bet. So that's at the heart of what we mean by good deals versus bad deals. It's about you already know the end from the beginning, and so you know what's going to be good or what's going to be bad. Or in this case, as Wes is talking about, if it wasn't in their buy box, I mean, he might still try to flip it through the normal channels, but if it was in his buy, if they're in their buy box, he already knew it was a good deal. So Wes, you certainly did a lot of deals with them, but you ended up moving also into acquiring rentals, right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's still part of your model today, right? You're still acquiring those?
Yeah. Yeah, I have yeah, that's the main business model today is acquiring rentals. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had that guest on Matt, who you know, Wes, and that's clearly what Matt did. He took all the house flipping money, bought rentals, did more flips to buy more rentals, do more flips to buy more rentals, so that he hit that point of financial freedom. And I know for you, you've got some pretty big goals for the kind of portfolio that you want to grow. And it's just beautiful because you've seen how the big guys have done it, right? You've watched those guys and seen their methods. So yeah, so you're poised to continue to grow that portfolio. Um, so what advice do you have for those that are maybe in this position that you are in, trying to figure out how to balance your schedule? Am I going to make this real estate thing real or not? What advice might you have for those folks?
Um, Real estate is a lot of fun. It can really help you achieve your goals. And not trying to sound salesy, but you really got to have a mentor. And you really just got to make the decision. Like what really changed for me, and why I had joined Freedom Mentor was because it's like, all right, I can spend 5 years trying to figure this out on my own. And what is a ARV? What is the MLS? Or I could just have somebody where I could email or call like Brian and just be like, hey Brian, help me out here. I have no idea what I'm doing. And so that's what really changed for me is like I needed I switched whenever I said I need somebody to help me, and it'll shorten the learning curve. And then also, it's not like as simple as you just jump in and say, I'm going to do all these deals. It takes work. It takes a
Mhm.
lot of work, and you have to find time for it. And then, once you value something, you will find time for it. You just have to value it and put and know, and you have to, I just told myself, like, I don't care how long this takes. I don't care if this takes 10 years, I'm just not going to quit. So that's
Mhm.
that's what I said. It's just I'm not going to quit this. I'm going to keep going until I'm successful. Um, and that was my mindset. It's just you have to find time for it. You can't quit. Because sometimes it is like you're just like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this again? And then sometimes I'd like email Brian and be like, hey Brian, I'm kind of down right now. Help me out here, So I'm sure Brian got tired of those emails too. But
No.
the main mindset was I just wasn't going to quit, and I knew that I had to do something.
Well, I think an important thing you did, Wes, because early on you had kind of dabbled some in rehab, and I mean, you're already working 50 to 70 hours a week. Then you're going to take on rehab, which obviously is going to take more time. It's got more risk involved, and good deal, bad deal. I know you learned some lessons on which side of the street you should be comping and things like that. But when you really took some of those lessons, and this is part of the progress, the progression of building in this business, learning your local market and adapting to the needs of your market. And that's what you did. And so instead of trying to maybe do fewer deals to make bigger dollars, you understood the needs of the market and these institutional buyers. So you said, hey, let's do more volume and put my time towards finding the deals, negotiating the deals. I know what my buyers will pay. And you just started cranking out a lot more volume. I know you've done more rehab since then, but you found more ways to make money. And it seemed like that's really what propelled you to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, these institutional buyers, their process is they will do an inspection before they go under contract. And then once they're under contract, the price does not change. You're not dealing with a real estate agent coming back saying, hey, we want all those repairs, and you're like, oh my gosh, all these foundation work, and then you got to go renegotiate everybody or figure out what to do next, or I'm going to lose money on this deal. They would come in, here's the price, and it would never change. I would maybe spend an hour from when the lead first came in to actually finding the institutional buyer to sell it. Maybe an hour each deal. Like, it was such low time, and that's what I really needed. And that's why I just kept trying to find institutional buyers, which is because it was just so much less time. Wasn't as much money, but as selling on the MLS or other deals. And I did those deals too. But my main business model was just trying to spit out deals for a lot less time than on the MLS or whatever. But again, I did those deals. Those are great deals. You should do those deals. But
Sure.
for the time of my life in business, it was really easy just to push these off to institutional buyers because nothing changed once you got them on a contract, and they always closed on time. You never had to figure out, oh, we got to delay closing because of this. They always close on time. Never renegotiated, so it was a for sure done deal.
Well, I guess you all are seeing that, different folks within our group, they find, different grooves that really fit their schedule, fit their what they like and appreciate most about the business. And for Wes here, and the same for you all. You're good. There's opportunities right in your market that might be unique to your market. Like, I know that not every single market in the United States has institutional buyers all buying, but there's always something there. And so, yeah, I just see where Pearl, that sounds good. They always close on time. Yeah, that is nice. And that's, again, there's pros and cons to every little niche within this business. But the idea is you get in where you fit in, right? You find that groove. And for Wes, it obviously was just a great groove. And what I love so much too is he's taken that and not just about making the short-term money. He watched what their buy box was. He watched what they were acquiring, and now he has found his own buy box for the rentals that he's picking up. And so, yeah, what's life like now, Wes? So you're not working 70 hours a week for somebody else. What's it look like to be Wes today?
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to mention, which I thought was kind of funny, is that since I knew that the institutional buyers were paying what they were paying, I hated losing deals. And so the smallest deal that I think the smallest amount of money I made was like $2,000, but it made it to where nobody else could buy it, and I could make the money, even if it's $2,000. It's like, I'm not letting anybody else get this deal. I'm going to get this deal. So anyways, that's just another funny point that I would also do. But
That's funny.
life today is, my the buy box and the long-term rentals is kind of switching to where that's all I want now. We are still buying opportunistic flips that are really good numbers. But we're just trying to buy in areas that have really good school districts. They're close to Costco's. We kind of laid out our buy box.
Sure.
A lot of different metrics. We're probably at like 20 to 25 metrics. So and the deals, we're still doing off the ground marketing. We're still doing Google Ads. And the deals that we don't want, we still wholesale to these
Yeah.
institutional buyers or other buyers in the market. And that funds
Yeah.
kind of the business to market to buy more rentals. But yeah, it's
But just the overall just life, right? I mean, 70 hours a week was pretty heavy duty back then, right? What's it like now?
it's still a lot of work because I'm still in the building phase.
Uh-huh.
But like I love going fly fishing for trout in Missouri or Utah. And so that's what I can do now. It's like, hey, I email my boss and be like, hey boss, can you give me this time off this week? And they're like, a whole week, So yeah, that's what life's like today, where I'm able to go home, spend time with my kids. And my kids have activities, I can go and spend time with them. Yeah, life's great. It's much better working for yourself. And yeah, I've just enjoyed
Yeah.
it way more. There's a lot more flexibility.
Yeah. And see, that's the key, y'all. It's the flexibility. Wes, thank you so much for being with us tonight and your story and the insight you provided. Wow. And Stephanie just posted there in the chat. That's Wes's entire story, much more detailed interview, so you can get even more details on this. But a question for you all would be, who would like to be like Wes right now? Now, look, I know it's 6 years in the making and whatnot, but how many of you would like to be like him, where he went from working all those hours for somebody else that now he chooses to work the hours he wants to? He has the flexibility. He gets to do those things with the family when those opportunities arise. He gets to do the fly fishing trips when he wants to. How many of you would like to be like Wes right now? How many of you all would like to see your efforts turn into long-term benefits, into a cash flowing portfolio so that you don't have to go to work, but you choose to because you want to? Well, if that's you, and you'd like to learn more about being mentored by me and by Brian and the team, go ahead and select yes right there. Because as Wes had shared with you, ultimately it does require a mentor. That's just how this is how it works. And we've done this thousands and thousands of times. You heard Wes talking about going back to Brian, but Brian, you and Wes, y'all have got to know each other. I guess you guys have had lunch now and again because you're somewhat in the same geographic area, right?
Yeah, well, he's come in town a couple times, and he's getting closer to talking me into going hiking in the Grand Canyon. So we're gonna make that happen, Wes.
I
And that's
have
what happens
with
with
Brian.
with mentorship. We go way beyond, and our mentorship's a little different because we do deals with you. And so when Wes worked with us, we shared in profits. So when we say $500,000, that was 250,000 in his pocket net profits and 250,000 in our pocket. And so when we're mentoring, for us, it's about doing deals. We're looking to do deals with others. And so if you would like to do deals with us, if you'd like to be a part of that experience and ultimately get to the kind of the level that Wes is at, you go ahead and hit select yes there to learn more about our mentoring program. And then next, what I want you to do is select whether you'd like to connect with us now or if you'd like to connect with us later. So we're going to try to wrap up right here at the top of the hour, as I promised, 8 o'clock. So if you'd like to connect with us now, you select right now. If you'd like to connect with us later about our mentoring, questions you might have, I'm sure you have lots of questions about how this program works. We're happy to answer those for you. Just select either right now or schedule for later. Because look, I know you all have busy schedules, and so we certainly can schedule it for later too. And Wes was once where you are right now, just like everybody that's been a part of our program. Brian was there too. He was one of our first in the program, and we've all been there. Everybody has to start somewhere. And when you start with a mentor, you exponentially grow the speed at which you can hit your goals. And so click right now if you want to connect with us right now, or schedule for later if you'd like to do that. And so the next thing that that you'll need to do is right here. Stephanie is going to put this in the chat. There's a link where um, now that you've selected that on the screen, come here to freedommentor.com/apprentice. And this is where fill out these quick details, the state you're located, because we have to keep everybody spread out. What you want real estate to do for you, how much you have to invest in real estate right now, of course, your name, email, phone, and then how you'd like to connect with us, whether that be for us to call you now or to schedule an appointment for later. If you select this, then you'll come to a scheduler tool, and that'll allow you to schedule the time that fits for you. We've got a couple of team members standing by that can answer your questions here if you select Call Me Now. So yeah, come here to apply to be my apprentice, which is freedommentor.com/apprentice. Y'all, you'll see that in the chat. Yeah, there you go. Stephanie put that in the chat there. And also, Michael, if you're out there, our tech genius, also make sure you put that Get Mentored by Phil. There's that little button that pops up. Head to freedommentor.com/apprentice and then fill that out. Well, again, Wes, thank you so much, sir, for being here and sharing your wisdom. And you all, please say thank you to Wes there in the chat if you appreciate him coming on here. Our graduates like this, taking time out of their schedule. He's got this wonderful, beautiful family. He's taking time out to be with us. Please, yeah, there's some love for you right there, Wes, from Keisha, Mohammed, and Lindy and John. Yeah, they do this. They do this because they appreciate what Freedom Mentor's done for them, and the fact that they know that they're paying it forward. That some of you all right now could use this little bit of inspiration. Maybe you can associate with where Wes was when he first got started. All right, Wes. Thanks again, sir.
Good to see you, Phil. Good to see you, Brian. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Wes. Appreciate it.
All right, and yeah, that thing just showed up there, Get Mentored by Phil. So click there if you want to get started with us as far as getting to know more about us, whether talking to us now or being scheduled for later. And yeah, you all, thanks so much for being here with us. It's been a fun night. I love this particular topic, as you can tell, talking about good deals versus bad deals, and knowing the end from the beginning so that it's always a sure thing. It's always a sure bet. And as always, Brian, thank you for your time, sir. Thank you for being with us tonight.
I appreciate it. Always having fun.
All right. Well, y'all, next a video is going to play. Got some other great examples of what our program has done for others, and what it's done to change people's lives. So make sure you check that out and go to freedommentor.com/apprentice to get more information on getting mentored by me and my team. And I will see you all next Thursday. Thanks, everybody.